Hey there guys, welcome to my latest review. We're going to be doing Resident Evil 5. Now, as per usual, we'll go through the gameplay and then I'll say spoiler alert, blah blah blah, plot, setting and story, and we'll go from there. So, let's get started. The player can control either Chris Redfield or Sheva Alomar. From an over-the-shoulder perspective, the game's environment plays a significant role. The Mercenaries minigame is present in Resident Evil 5 as well. At launch, the multiplayer mode in the minigame was offline only, but a launch day patch gave the game online multiplayer modes as well. Instead of zombies, the game's humanoid enemies are called Majini, meaning evil spirit in Swahili. They bear many resemblances to the Ganados of Resident Evil 4, because they speak, run, dodge and wield weapons. There are several varieties of handgun, shotgun, submachine gun, assault rifle and just plain rifle to choose from. The player can equip weapons and items in the midst of gameplay. The game still runs real time as the player manipulates the inventory, as opposed to the game just pausing. The game features such online elements as some online elements. Resident Evil 5's main story can be played with two characters in a cooperative online mode. This feature will allow players to enter or leave any time during the gameplay. Players will not always stick together and can be separated at points during the gameplay. However, if one player were to have critical health, only their player can resuscitate them. An offline co-op mode is also in the game, with the same co-op experience offered by online co-op mode, only with two local players controlling the action in split screen or by system link. Okay guys, now for spoilers, so plot. I'm going to break down the plot. The setting of Resident Evil 5 has a similar feel to the film Black Hawk Down. Takeuchi, one of the developers for the game, added that the development team is composed of staff members who worked for the original Resident Evil, which is hard to believe. The game is a direct sequel to the Resident Evil series and continues chronologically after Resident Evil 4. The player character and protagonists are Chris Redfield and Sheva Alomar, and the game takes place in 2009, 11 years after the events of the original Resident Evil. During the game's events, he is a member of a group known as Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, the BSAA, and sent to investigate a terrorist bioorganic weapon, a BOW, threat in an African desert area in Kijuju that serves as the game's setting. The antagonists of the game include Albert Wesker, a returning antagonist to the series, and Excella Gioni, a relative of the founder of the Tricell Pharmaceutical Company who operates the company's African branch, Oswell E. Spencer, the founder of Umbrella, and a key figure in background history of the series since the original Resident Evil, is also included in a flashback. So that's the setting, now for the story. 5 years after the events of Resident Evil 4, Chris Redfield, a former STARS member and now part of the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, the BSAA, is dispatched to Kijuju, Africa, to work with Sheva Alomar to apprehend Ricardo Irving before he can sell a bioorganic weapon on the black market. Upon arriving, they discover the locals have been converted by parasites into Majini, and that the members of the BSAA's Alpha team have been killed. Chris and Sheva are rescued by BSAA's Delta team, whose membership includes Sheva's mentor, Josh Stone. In the data provided by Josh, Chris sees a photo of Jill Valentine, his old partner, presumed dead after a confrontation with Albert Wesker. Chris, Sheva and Delta team close in on Irving, but he manages to escape with the help of a hooded figure, leaving behind documents that lead Chris and Sheva to oil fields in the marshlands, where Irving's deal is to occur. They soon discover this was a diversion created by Irving to allow the deal to take place. Chris and Sheva attempt to regroup with Delta team, but at the rendezvous, find the team slaughtered by a BOW. Sheva cannot find Josh among the buddies. Chris refuses to report to headquarters, revealing his determination to learn if Jill is alive. Continuing through the marshlands, they find Josh injured but safe, and with his help, track down Irving's boat. Irving injects himself with a variant of the parasite Las Plagas and mutates into a colossal octopus-like beast. Chris and Sheva defeat him, and with his dying words directs the pair to a nearby cave to learn more. The cave, home of these reviews take so long to make. It takes a lot of googling and finding out a lot of information on the different characters on the Resident Evil wiki. It takes forever to do these things, and A lot of the time, some of like the parasites or the places or the tribe that's in this game, some of the names are incredibly hard to say, so just give me some leeway. Just saying. Now I've got to find where I was in my script. Sorry about that, by the way. Yeah, the cave, home of the Nidpia tribe, is the source of the flower and used to create the progenitor virus, which led to the creation of the T and G viruses, and has now been used to form a new, incredibly powerful strain called Ouroboros. I love that word. Chris and Sheva find evidence that Tricell, the company funding the BSAA, has taken over a former Umbrella underground laboratory and continued Umbrella's research. In the facility are thousands of capsules holding human test subjects. Chris discovers one of the capsules belongs to Jill, but when they search it, they find the capsule empty. As they leave, they discover Tricell CEO Excella Gioni has been plotting with Wesker to unleash a number of missiles with the Ouroboros virus across the globe. It is eventually revealed that Wesker hopes to sort out a chosen few from the chaos of infection and rule over them, creating his own breed of humanity. Chris and Sheva pursue Excella but are stopped by Wesker and the hooded figure, later revealed to be Jill, enslaved by a mind control device in her chest. Excella and Wesker escape to Tricell escape to a Tricell oil tanker, while Chris and Sheva fight Jill, eventually subduing her and removing the device. After a brief reunion, Jill orders Chris to follow Wesker. As Chris and Sheva make their way aboard the tanker, they come across Excella, who escapes but drops a case of syringes. Sheva holds on to them. When Chris and Sheva arrive on the main deck of the tank, Wesker, through the tank's intercom, reveals he has betrayed and infected Excella with Ouroboros. She mutates into a giant monster, which Chris and Sheva eventually defeat. Jill radios in and informs Chris and Sheva that Wesker must regularly take precisely measured doses of a virus to maintain his superhuman strength and speed. A larger or smaller dose would act as poison for him. Sheva then realises the syringes she recovered from Excella are doses of that drug. Chris and Sheva follow Wesker to a bomber aboard the tanker with missiles containing the Ouroboros virus. Eventually the two are able to subdue Wesker long enough to inject him with additional doses. Wesker attempts to escape the bomber but is followed by Chris and Sheva, who disable the bomber, causing it to crash and land in a volcano. An enraged Wesker exposes himself to Ouroboros and pursues Chris and Sheva through the volcano. Chris and Sheva fight and weaken Wesker to the point where he falls in the lava. Then they are rescued by a helicopter piloted by Jill and Josh. In his dying breaths, Wesker attempts to drag the helicopter into the volcano, but Chris and Sheva kill him with rocket-propelled grenades before he is able to do so. In the final cutscene of the game, Chris ponders whether it is truly worth fighting. He looks at Sheva and Jill, decides that it is worth it in order to live in a world without fear. Now, while I probably just made this game sound better than it probably is, I'd just like to say, if you have the choice, play Resident Evil 4. Not 5, definitely not 6. We'll get to 6 in a minute. 6, I'm not even scripting. 6, I'm just gonna do it out straight. I'm not scripting 6, so 6 is gonna be up straight away after this. Because me and 6, well, you can probably guess my opinion. Now, my problems with Resident Evil 5 are the fact that all the boss fights are just fights with variations of the same boss. It'll be a load of tentacles, black oil-coloured tentacles, all moving in a humanoid shape sometimes, and as you progress through the game, each boss becomes bigger masses of tentacles. And there is yellow/goldy orange spots that stick out on the black background of the body. You shoot those, you beat the boss. That is how every boss in this game works except for Wesker. Wesker, Chris punches a boulder into some lava to get a path, shoot Wesker enough, or in my case, because you can't actually beat Wesker without using a rocket launcher anyway, quitting the mission, going back to the shop, buying an RPG, starting the mission, shooting Wesker with it, winning, done. Yeah, I have a lot of main opinions for this game that I decided not to write down because I feel I could probably express them a bit quicker at the end. Anyway, see you later guys. If you enjoyed, go ahead and subscribe.